What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the channel. On this episode, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite techniques for summertime, and that is a punch rig. If you struggle to catch fish in summer, you're not the only one. But the punch rig is a great lure that's going to help you catch more fish in summer and possibly your next personal best. So whether you're a beginner or a veteran to this sport, you might want to check out this video. We're going to be talking about it right now. So first of all, let's understand what a punch rig is and how to utilize it. Punch rig is designed to target bass that are hiding under thick cover. For example, when we're outside and it's hot, it's summer, temperatures in the triple digits, sun is blazing, what do? We look for cooler air temperatures, we look for shade, we look to where we're comfortable. Bass are no different. So that's when a lot of times they'll be hiding under lily pads, grass mats, floating grass, and it's very easy to find them, but it's not as easy to get them out of there. So this is where the punch rig comes reeling in handy, because you are now targeting those bass. You're punching through that thick grass. You're getting those bass that are willing to eat. They just don't want to be up and about because of the water temperatures. What do you need for punch rig? First of all, you need a peg for your weight. You want to make that sure that weight stays on its place. You want to use at least a 1 ounce tungsten weight. And I mentioned tungsten weight because this is a heavy weight, and a tungsten 1 ounce weight is going to be smaller than a lead 1 ounce weight. And you want to be compact in order to get through that heavy cover. Also, tungsten, when it hits that hook, it creates this clicking sound. It's going to help attract more bass. So I would highly recommend using a tungsten weight, even though it's more expensive, but trust me, it is worth it. The hook that you're going to use has to be a flipping hook. And it's very important to use a stout flipping hook because, again, you're going to be pulling this bass out of thick cover, and that hook can bend, deform, and you lose that bass. You're going to want to use a snell knot. This is very important. If you're not familiar with a snell knot, what it does, it's the reason why we call it a punch rig. When there's tension on the line, that hook is going to flip up or flip forward and penetrate through the roof of that bass mouth more than any other knot out there. Also, the knot is made underneath the eyelid. For example, if you use a Palomar knot, that knot is above the eyelid, and there's going to be a lot of wear and tear on that big, heavy bullet weight making contact with that knot. But a snell knot is tied underneath the eyelid, which is protected from the bullet weight. If you never used a snell knot, I'm going to teach you real quick how to tie a snell knot. This is very important. You're going to thread the hook from front to back. You're going to run the line towards the bottom of the hook, and you're going to make a loop, a big loop, to give you more, a larger, longer tag line to tie this knot. Once you make that loop, you're going to wrap that line around the hook below the eyelid and over the line that you just looped down. Once you wrap it around at least 5 to 10 times, you're going to use that tag line, and you're going to run it through that loop that you made on the bottom, and you're going to cinch it by pulling on the main line. It's going to improve your hookup ratio. As far as the line you're going to use, I like to use braided line. Now, there's an argument out there. Some anglers don't like to use braided line. I'll give you the pros and cons of each line, and you decide which one you want to use. Braided line is my favorite line to use for this for a couple of reasons. First of all, there's no give in it. There's more sensitivity. So you're going to feel those bites more. You're going to be able to pull those bass out of heavy cover because there's no give in it. I like to use a 30 to 40 pound test line. You want to use a line that's thick enough to withstand the rigors and the wear and tear of rubbing against tree stumps that might be hidden on the bottom of those grass lines, heavy grass cover, and lily pad or lily pad stakes. So again, a heavier test bound line is going to be better regardless if it's fluorocarbon or braid. Now, the reason why a lot of people don't like to use braid is for a couple of reasons, and they're valid points. First of all, braid does tend to make a lot of noise when it's rubbing against structure, and that includes grass and lily pads. Also, braid, because it's more coarse, it tends to get snagged more, especially on timber or tree stumps. However, what I would recommend is, instead of just buying the regular braided line, I would recommend using a silent braid. Now, I'm not associated with Cortland, but that's the line I use. Cortland makes what they call a silent braid, and it's made specifically for punch rigging. It's called a silent braid because it doesn't make noise when it's rubbing against structure, grass lines, everything that we just talked about. It does that. It's because it's coated in a way that it make it smoother. It also less prone to getting snagged. So now, as far as soft plastics, you want to use a soft plastic creature bait that is designed for punch rigging. So typically, they're going to be a little bit beefier and are able to withstand more the rigors of, again, punching through heavy cover. You want to get a soft plastic specifically for that. They're going to last a little bit longer. Also, most of them are not going to have appendages sticking out from the side. For example, a brush hog is one of my favorite soft plastic, but I wouldn't use it punching rig because of all the appendages on the side. They'll drag grass with it, and it makes it less attractive for a bass to actually hit that lure if there's a bunch of grass just wrapped around its appendages. So get something with a smoother body style that's beefy enough to withstand the rigors of it. Also, most of this soft plastic designed for punch rigging have a little notch or a hook keeper, which prevents the tip of that hook from sticking out. That's very important because, again, when you're punching through grass, if that little point is sticking out, it's going to drag grass with it. It's going to affect your hook set. It's also more prone to getting snagged. So definitely get a soft plastic designed for punch rigging. Now let's talk about rod and reels. First of all, rods for this technique are very specific. You want to get a rod that's heavy, pull that fish out of that heavy cover. You're also going to need a rod that is about 7.5 to 8 foot long. And you might be thinking, well, why do I need a rod so long if I'm only going to be pitching 5-10 feet in front of me? You need a longer rod to have that parabolical bend. If you use a short rod, like a 6.8 or 7 foot rod, problem is it doesn't have that parabolical bend. So when you set the hook and you're trying to pull them out of heavy cover, there's a good chance you're going to rip that bait right out of its mouth. So again, a parabolical bend is key to keeping that fish pinned down, while the heavy or factor in that rod is going to help you pull it out of the grass. So you need that combination to get it out of there and improve your hookup ratio. As far as the reel goes, I like to use a high-speed reel because you want to keep up with this fish. This is one of those techniques where you don't really want to tire the fish out or work it. I know that's sacrilegious for some people. You need to get that bass out of there as soon as possible. The reason for that is if you try to play around with it, if you try to tire it out, the more that bass is swimming around the area, the more chances it gets to wrap under lily pad stems or get more grass to wrap around that line, and it creates weight on that line. It could pull that bait right out of its mouth. It could get tangled on those lily pads or even tree stumps that are around that area. Now, let's talk about the presentation for the point tree. What you want to do is, first of all, you're going to go to where there's a lot of grass, and you're going to start either left to right or right to left, but you're going to fan cast or fan flip in this case all around you. Start about 5 feet in front of you. If you don't get a bite, then instead of moving your kayak, just pitch a little bit further up, maybe 7 feet, 10 feet in front of you. Don't pitch too far in front, because if you do get a bite, it's going to be a nightmare to drag it through all that heavy cover and actually land it. So again, these are some of the tips. If it works out for you, let me know. Thank you for watching. Remember, you get liked, subscribe, comment on it. Let me know what you think about this video. If you're going to be on the water, tying lines, hope you